says in the beginning of the verse, by whom we have access by faith. Now that word access, it has the idea of being introduced to God. We've been introduced to God. We have access to him because we've been introduced to him. I'll illustrate it this way. Back during the war between the states, it is said that there was a young Confederate soldier that had been wounded in battle. His brother was caring for his wounded fallen brother, and they were captured by the Union troops. They were carried to a prison, and as prisoners of war, they were put out of the action in a prison. And then as the Union authorities looked at the wounded brother, they said, you know, his injuries are too severe. He'll never be able to go back into active service. We can let him go. He's not going to be a threat to us. So they freed the wounded brother, but the one that was still healthy, they kept him in prison. The only problem was that their widowed mother back down in Alabama would have no one to take care of the farm and to be her means of support. So the wounded brother made the trek to Washington, D.C. to see Abraham Lincoln. Well, when he came limping up to the White House and tried to get in to see Abraham Lincoln, there were guards at the White House that were not about to let this boy with a Southern accent go in and just see President Lincoln. He could not do that. And he tried to explain to them what his mission was, and they said, you don't have an appointment. And he was an enemy anyhow. He was wounded. He was an enemy. They said, go away. We're not letting you in to see Mr. Lincoln. Well, the young man went out to the end of the front lawn, and he sat down on the side of the road, and he was crying because he had no idea what he was going to do. Well, at that moment, a young man came walking by, saw him crying, and was touched with compassion, said, what's the problem? And this wounded Confederate soldier told him what was going on, and the young man said, you come with me. And so he took the Confederate soldier back to the White House. As he walked up to the guards, they smartly saluted, and they let the young man and the Union soldier through. They went down the hallways, and everywhere that there were guards, they all smartly saluted the young man passing by. His name was Tad Lincoln. He was the son of the president. He walked right up to his father's door, past all of the guards, opened the father's door, and brought this wounded enemy into the presence of the father. And only the son could do that. Are you getting the picture? We have access to the Heavenly Father, even though we've been wounded by sin, even though we were born enemies of God, but we've been introduced to him by the Heavenly Father. And that gives us access to the very throne room of God. And really, when Christ died on the cross and the veil of the temple rent in twain, that's exactly why that happened. It was showing that he's now made it possible for former enemies wounded by the fall to have access to God.